everybody. Welcome back. YouTube.com/Geek Aloud. This is the Gaming Enforcement Agency. I believe we're episode 91. Unky, correct me if I'm wrong. Unky, of course. Welcome to you, sir. Second slotting it this evening. And how are you?
Mate, I'm doing very well. The coward bullies failed to turn up today. He was too scared. He was thought, oh, maybe I have to fight Unky for that second slot. He just didn't turn up to even bother trying, so that's all right. He's offline tonight, unfortunately.
It's all good, man. I reckon between the two of us, we have it covered. This evening's episode, viewers. Hey, Sean Games, I saw you in there. Welcome back to you, sir. It will be 3 games we're doing this evening. Unky, should I leave it as a surprise or should I run them down now? It's in the title. I'm going to go it. All right, so the 3 games in order are Soul Covenant, PSVR 2, Fallout 4's patch upgrade, next gen that was just released, and then the apparently excellent Stellar Blade. But Unky will be taking us there as the third game this evening. But the first game, let's get into it, shall we? Games, interrogation, and deliberation. And of course, it is Soul Covenant. It's a PSVR 2 title, and a big shout out to the developers. Thank you for sending the key through to enable Unky and myself to go in VR and hands-on with this hack and slash, if you will, game. Unky, how are you? You've played it, man, haven't you? How are you finding it?
I'm going to put my hand up here and say I didn't do my homework right.
Oh, no!
I know I should have played it. I know I should have whacked out the headset. It was just... Oh, for some reason, it's so hard to get the headset. I know you got your brand new headset, so you're all about it at the moment. But I have checked out some gameplay and stuff, and watched some reviews and see what people have to say. It doesn't sound like people are too hot on it, especially with some of the VR stuff I've played recently, especially on the MetaQuest 3, I think it is now that we've got. So playing Asgard's Wrath recently, which I think is a high quality VR game. Obviously,
Asgard's Wrath, I haven't even heard of that one, man. Tell me a little, please.
Asgard's Wrath, it's number 2, sorry, is it's essentially, I reckon it's the killer app for VR on the MetaQuest headset. It's essentially God of War, first-person VR game, essentially. You're throwing axes, you've got melee combat, it's a full adventure-like game. You've got a whole open-world section to play, and you're riding on tops of mounts and everything. It is a top-tier 10 out of 10 VR experience, especially compared to something like this. So, I mean, it's... I look at this
I'm going to throw some counterpoints to that one, but please, keep going.
No, that's right. So I saw stuff of this that had similar sort of looking stuff in terms of melee combat, but I look at that and I go, I got that in Asgard's Wrath, or I can get that in Asgard's Wrath for a bigger experience in terms of what I'm looking for when I'm going into VR, especially when it's, you got very limited game time these days, and to, pull out the headset as it is a bit more arduous than just picking up controller, hit that button and having everything turn on all at once. It's a little bit more effort. And sometimes a little bit more effort after a long day at work is just that little bit too much. So to have something that's not completely a must-have app for me, it's very hard to get the headset on. I know I should have done my homework, but I know you've done homework for it. So Troy, let us know all about it.
I have, and I will, mate. Thank you. So this game is fantastic. The only criticism I would level at this game is that there's a bit too much non-combat sections. You launch in, you'll see it in a minute, but you basically launch in and then there's a cutscene that you manually roll by selecting it in a very Tony Stark-esque, VR situation type room. You lean out, you touch it, you hit, rolls a cutscene. Now, I'm saying a cutscene, but it's more like still images and voiceover. It's not a full animated cutscene, which is where you ding a little bit. But, I mean, I get it. We want the gameplay, but that's my point. Like, it's these sort of, stills with voiceover. And then when it finishes, you're back to that menu, and then you need to select go to mission. You go in the mission, you do what you're seeing on screen now, which is fantastic, and I'll dig into that in a minute. But then you come back after that, you're back in your Tony Stark, HUD UI thing, and then you have to hit play another cutscene, and then so it's cutscene, gameplay, cutscene, and that's one mission, and then you go into the next mission. But what it results in is you finish a mission, see the cutscene, and then you manually out, manually back in. Here you can see it on screen now, and then you will you do the action, you see the final cutscene, you come back, then you've got to click the next mission down, and you roll its opening cutscene, which looks exactly as you're seeing on the screen there. It's like you're in a big VR space, but it's just those still images and voiceover. So it's like there's too much of going back to the sort of menu. It would be
jarring in terms of gameplay experience. It seems like it's sort of, you have the fun and it brings you out of that fun. Is that kind of what it feels like? They kind of just like put a pause on your fun for a bit?
Yeah, it kind of is, but I mean, it's done beautifully the way they've done it. Like, it is seamless transitions into and out of the game world. I've cut it all out of the footage here because they're essentially loading screens, but they're, full VR loading screens. So even just the ability to look around, as you're doing a VR game is immersive. So even when it's loading, it's immersive, and the way they like spawn the world in and then bring back the overworld sort of UI and then disappear it and you're back into gameplay or cutscene or whatever, it's done very well. But exactly to your point, man, the gameplay section in the middle, they're kind of like 2, 3. I think the longest one I've played is maybe like an 8-minute mission. And I haven't finished the game. So maybe at the back end of the game, maybe then you're getting to sort of like a good, what in my mind would be good is a 15-minute gameplay and then a single cutscene to roll the end of that mission. And it should auto roll the start cutscene of the next mission and then back into gameplay. If they just removed a couple of those hurdles, it would be far more gameplay oriented and flowing, which would be awesome. But now let me bloody shower them with love, because this VR experience is phenomenal. Like, once you kill an enemy, they drop an orb and then you raise your non-dominant hand. I've got it set up as a lefty because I'm a lefty, but for yourself, I'm assuming you're a righty. I don't actually know, but so for me, I'm holding up my right hand to suck in the orbs of the defeated enemies, which is so cool. You like hold your hand up and there's like this red aura that comes out and shoots off, and it's, it's, what is it, Luigi's Mansion? It's the vacuum machine mechanic, essentially. So there's a fall-off range. You've got to be within, say, 15 meters. And then you can extend that sort of pull range through power-ups, but you've obviously got to grind to get them. But initially, it's like maybe a 10 or maybe a 15-minute suck radius. So you've got to walk close enough to it. And then you put your hand, and it just feels like Iron Man. You put your hand up, in comes the orb, and I'm not sure how far off it is now, but once you've collected, I think it's 10 orbs, then you're like super's ready to charge up. And then, so typically I'm shielding with my right hand and swinging with my left, but then you get the super move, you can pull your second hand on the weapon, and then it goes into its ultra power mode. For this specific weapon, it turns into a blade in each hand, and you get to cut it around. But once you've killed the 10 enemies and sucked up, you can see it there, sucking up the orbs. Once you've sucked up the 10 orbs, your right arm, your defensive arm, turns into like your supreme offensive weapon. And so instead of wielding a weapon in that hand, you sort of reach over and grab your forearm, almost, and then you fire like a big red laser comes out the front and does massive damage. And that whole gameplay experience, holding up the shield, sucking in the orbs, and then doing your supers, it is the Iron Man game I want. They have so much gold in the gameplay. They just need to expand out the gameplay sections and tighten up the menu and cutscene sections. And this game, I think, would have rated a lot higher across the board. So I'm talking minor tweaks, but the gameplay itself, when you're playing it, is absolutely phenomenal. It's top-notch VR gameplay. Like, it's akin, and it's better than, but you remember in, what is it, Horizon Call of the Mountain, when you first go back and pull your bow out and then get the arrow and you start doing those, that feels like, oh, this is a really cool VR experience. The sword play in this tops that. It's a better attack mechanic. It's fantastic. And once you start to understand how you can chain them together, and if you do the like double hand and then attack, the bodies fly, I don't know, 3-4 times further than they do if you're just single-handing attacking. And then you can start to chain stuff together. So if you've got a guy and they go yellow means one more hit and they're dead. And then if you super hit them when they're yellow, it kills them, but they fly off as kind of a missile. And if you can hit another enemy with them, they'll die as well. So you can start to, once you sort of get your proficiency up a bit, you can really start to chain some combos together and have a lot of fun. I'm not sure if we've seen one yet or not, but there's cool bosses at the end of every mission, like the big dude spawns. And then they've all got, your standard sort of boss mechanics. They've got different phases and they've got different attack patterns that you need to learn. And when am I on offense, when am I on defense, and what are the cues I'm looking for. It's got all that built in, and it's in VR. It's super cool. The best way I could describe the melee combat is, you remember what was the Ubisoft sword fighting one, For Honor? Do you remember For Honor at all? It's like playing For Honor in VR is how I describe it. It's it's phenomenal. Like, the idea of how far can I swing, what's my arc look like, what's my damage, and then situational awareness in the VR. It's so immersive and it's so fun. Like, if, like me, you're a gameplay first gamer, this gameplay is phenomenal. And what I will say about the sort of cutscenes top and bottom of the mission there, you can see on screen, what you can actually do is cue the log, and then as soon as it starts playing, you can tap a button in the VR space on the right to skip it. So you can go like skip cutscene, get into the action.
How much of the story have you actually do you actually know what's going on? I
have the introductory idea done. It's basically what you're doing. It's a pretty cool idea. Like it's you're a clone, very much, I guess, like Helldivers. You know how like you die and then a clone drops in? That's exactly what this game is. And the narrative behind it is you're supplying data essentially. So every time you die, it's actually a benefit. The AI gets smarter, and then the next version of you is more skilled at defending that thing because you've died that way before, if that makes sense. It's really cool and intertwines well there. Here you can see a boss battle on screen. So you can see like that blue area is essentially like a damage per second slowdown area. Like if you're there, like it casts it on you, and if you don't move and you land there, everything's slow. Like it's not bullet time, but your movement slows down. Everything else is still running in real time. And if you stay there and don't move, you don't die as such. You've got like, I think maybe a 5-second window that you've got 3 AI teammates. And if one of those can get to you in the 5 seconds, you'll res. They'll like pull you back into the battle.
So you're actually moving around the battlefield. Like, have you got a joystick control your movement? It's not on rails or anything?
No, it's not on rails at all. It's like a big open room, and you run around, left stick on the VR to move, and then your head's the pivot, and you swing your arms to attack. It's really, and you've obviously got to pull the triggers and stuff, but, it's fantastic.
So it's more like in an arena per se for each.
Well, no, there are some, that are definitely arenas, but what you're actually looking at here, it's kind of like more like if you imagine like a subway. It's like a long corridor with a series of doors. So you like clear out this one area, kill a boss, get to the next door, unlock it. It takes a bit.
Who's that fighting with you? Is that an NPC? That's not another player.
Yeah, so I've got 3 AI buddies with me that will come, and they're in the fight. They draw fire. They'll come and res you. They'll, attack the enemies and stuff. So they're just companions essentially to make it easier. And you can see there, that's me resing one of the downed NPCs.
So does this game have multiplayer? Can you play, or is that just?
It does have multiplayer, but I haven't checked out the multiplayer because you haven't played it yet.
My bad.
No, man, all good. Well, you'll be pleased to know though, there appears I haven't been able to do any friendly fire to my AI companion.
Well, that's good to know.
I think if you were in with me, even if I hit you with my sword, it wouldn't do anything.
I'm pleased to say I have installed the game, so I got 50% of the way there.
Very good. But yeah, it's super cool. If you ever wanted to be first-person sword swinging, this game, and you've got a PSVR 2, I say pick this game up. I have a lot of fun with it, and it's actually what my go-to was a few years ago when I wanted a real workout in VR was Beat Saber.
Yep.
Beat Saber is still awesome, but this is a better workout. Like if you actually really want to quickly work up a sweat, like dual wielding swords and fighting 12 enemies at once, you're jumping around, you're swinging your arms, and you're really sort of working to get it done. Here's that. If you just saw it briefly there, this is like the Tony Stark UI I was talking about. This is the main world. And what you're seeing here is the upgrade path. So this is the second weapon that you're looking at there. And if you look really closely, do you see that it's a guy's spine?
Oh, yeah.
The way the game works. So it's the notion like, I can't remember their phrase now. They've got a catchphrase. It's like, grab my bones. I think it's collect my bones. It's collect my bones. So if you die, like, or
I hope it's not grab my bones. That could be something completely different.
Collect my bones. And so they're like really high advanced clones that have died. And I don't know what the narrative point, like, I don't know why they can't be respawned, but for whatever reason, they can't be respawned.
I'm sure they explained it somewhere.
In a cutscene I skipped. But then you're using their spine, and it's like their soul is in the weapon. So they can talk to you. This dead person can talk through the weapon, and they're giving you tips, and then every weapon is somebody else's spine, like it's another NPC spine that's a different weapon type. And anyway, then you can get into the menus and you can do all the upgrades and everything. Upgrade the velocity it can swing at, the damage it does. You can upgrade the suck radius for pulling in the stuff. It's really well done. It's really thought out. If they just trim out, work out how to stitch together their menus more so you're less in that overworld. This game, I would say in its current state, I would easily give it a 7. You could argue me up to a 7.5, I guess. But if they worked out the cutscenes and there was less dipping back and there was more gameplay, this would easily be an 8.5. Easy. Okay. So the gameplay itself is top notch. If you're a gameplay first gamer, I say 2 big thumbs up. Get it. My one annoyance is how often on my left thumb I'm trying to move around, and I accidentally hit I accidentally hit the PS button and everything pauses in the PlayStation UI comes up. I'm like, damn it! I keep doing it. I'm getting better, but it's still an issue. But other than that, top notch. I love it. Please, mate, check it out, and maybe we can sync up for an online session so we can go. It'd be cool if we could duel against each other. That'd be pretty wild. Anyway, that's it. What's that?
I said I can go hands on with you, but you'll probably keep pausing the game on me just the way you're going there with your gameplay.
My avatar will just suddenly freeze and you'll be able to get a few attacks in. All right, so that's it for Cell Covenant. As I said, PS5, PSVR 2, I should say. But Game 2, Unky Dunky, I'm handing it over to you, sir, for your thoughts and feelings on Fallout 4, the next-gen update. And Sean Games, to answer your question, we will also cover the TV show. But Unky, no spoilers, because I'm only 5 eps in. Don't ruin the end for me. But I've seen the first 5, and we will touch on that in this segment. But Unky, over to you for Fallout 4's PS5 release. Assuming you're playing it on PS5?
Absolutely. Sean Games, you're all over it, mate. The reason we're all back into Fallout at the moment, especially, is because the new show dropped, and without saying too much, for me, that is a 10 out of 10 game adaptation of a video game franchise. I think, we've had The Last of Us last year, and now got Fallout. And I could not be happy with the way that show went.
Phenomenal.
Being a Fallout fan you don't even need to be a Fallout fan. My wife went from watching the first episode with me on her iPad to being fully engaged, which if you know my wife, that's saying a lot to fully engaged with a TV show. That's especially more on my kind of a video game based show. But every episode we watched that show back to back. I think finished it in 3 nights. Every episode's about an hour long, and I was hooked from start to finish. Yeah, season 2, which has just been announced. The characters, the way they use the lore in that game, the way it's just, you pick up a stim pack, they don't have to explain it, and they just use it, and it fixes you. They don't have to explain it. People who know the game go, yep, that's exactly it. It's the right sound effect. You've got a Braxo line around, you've got sugar, whatever they're called, floating around. It's every bit of that. Every scene is just all Fallout, and they have the vibe. They've got the dark humor. They've got everything throughout that show. It's just all quintessentially Fallout. I could almost consider this a new installment of the Fallout series. And I think they've gone out and said this is essentially Fallout 5, which I can see why they've called it that, because, from the ground up, they have done their work and they have adapted this video game perfectly, as far as I'm concerned.
They really have, Ned. Can I ask, and I know I said no spoilers, but I'll allow this one. From my eye, I'm sure this is set in Fallout New Vegas as well, like it's Megaton and everything. My question is, by the end of the season, do they go outside of the bounds of Fallout New Vegas?
No comment.
Okay, fair. All right, then. But and the only thing I was going to say off the back of that was, how much are they kicking themselves that they didn't have the Fallout New Vegas PS5 version and Xbox Series X version?
It's funny you should say that, because New Vegas is one of the games that I remember playing it very early on. I never even made it to the Vegas Strip, I don't believe, when I first played it. I think after playing 3, which I absolutely loved, all the DLC for number 3, one of my favourite games of all time, got sucked out. It was my first Fallout experience and I never looked back. But played New Vegas, and then I think in the open world with the desert, for me straight away, I was like, it seems very barren and not much going on compared to number 1. I might have been a different gamer back then, but I thought I'll give it another chance now. And just the story and Obsidian storytelling, the way they create those narrative trees and dialogue options that you have in that game. It's less of a combat game and more of a dialogue game and RPG in that aspect compared to number 4. But I found myself really getting sucked into it for quite a few hours into New Vegas, and finally got to the Strip and worked out all the different factions working against each other, and all that stuff just drew me in. I'm like, this is what Fallout's all about, the storytelling and stuff. And to have never had that experience, and then sort of watch the show and then just immediately want to go back and play these Fallouts and get sucked into arguably what people say is one of the best Fallout experiences, being the fact that it is Obsidian, not Bethesda directly. But no, it was fantastic. And then waiting for once I heard the Fallout 4 upgrade was coming, a week later, I almost wish they dropped it a week earlier, because I think they almost missed that boat there of, you can easily, because the show wasn't dropping weekly, they dropped it all at one go. Someone like me who literally picked up the show day 1 and watched it within 3 days, to wait then 2 weeks for that Fallout 4 upgrade was maybe a little bit too much if that's what I really wanted to do. But I mean, as I said, I reinstalled Fallout 3, New Vegas, even reinstalled Fallout 76 and was just bouncing between all the Fallouts just to get my Fallout fix as it was. Since the Fallout 4 patches up as dropped and reinstalled on my PS5, hoping to get my PS4 save back for whatever reason that doesn't like the save file of my old file, so I've restarted the game, which is fine. I can remember sort of what happened in the story, but it is nice to restart a new character, restart a new Nathan Drake in the world of Fallout 4.
Can I jump in for 1 sec? So I tried to load an old save, like I imported my PS4 save and brought it in, but then so I played like maybe an hour, 45 minutes or an hour of a new game from the start, and it was seamless. But then I imported my old PS4 save, and my last save point was in the Nuke World DLC, like I was still in the theme park. And as soon as I launched in, I think it was less than a minute. It ran maybe like 40 seconds, 45 seconds, and then locked, hard crashed. PlayStation 5 error message, and I'm like, that's weird. Like it was running seamlessly, but now on the import save, it's screwed. I'm like, it was a one-off. Restarted the console to be safe, turned it back on, launched back in, and then had the exact same experience, and it crashed again. And then I'm like, I'll try the auto save that was 5 minutes before or whatever, and had the exact same experience. So I can't, even though for me it imported the save, the actual game could not handle it for whatever reason. I've left the door open somewhere that they hadn't allowed for. Like it's, classic Bethesda experience. But so although it technically worked and I could import my save, I couldn't actually play that save file. You said you had an issue. Could you not import it at all, or did you have a crash?
No, I literally didn't import it all. And initially when I first, because there was obviously, it's been sort of reported that initially, if you had the PlayStation Plus version of the game, it said it did all the upgrade, but it actually didn't. You couldn't actually upgrade it straight away. So they fixed that now. So I actually stupidly had to go pay the $24.95 to get the game, to buy the game, to then get the upgrade version of to the PS5 edition. I was like, $24 on my PS4 Fallout 4, and I really wanted to play the next gen update. And I was on leave, so I was like, I wasn't going to have to wait for that, which they only did a couple of days ago. So happy I did that. But speaking of the game itself, like I've had no real bugs, issues at all. It's running, seems to be flawlessly at 60 frames per second. Like renowned for frame rate drops with that Corvega city or station, wherever you go. Pretty early on in the game, it used to drop heavily with your first big encounter with people shooting lasers and stuff at you. No drops at all in that part. Ran perfectly. The lighting's beautiful. The world looks amazing. The guns look good. It's so fluid in that 60 frames per second mode, but I've got no issues at all. I'm sure the bugs will come because it is Bethesda, but I'm having a flawless experience. This is what I wanted when I first got the game, is to be in this world that looks beautiful but also runs well, and that's what I'm getting now. And it's it's probably the best Fallout, I'm going to say. If you're coming straight off the show, it's you can tell a lot of the inspiration for the show has come from Fallout 4 and its look and its feel and all that kind of stuff. So. And generally, if you want a better shooter experience, this is the one to go for. New Vegas arguably has better skill trees, and it's more of an RPG experience. You've got a voice protagonist in Fallout 4, which you don't have in the other ones, which you could argue, without a voice protagonist, it allows you to put yourself in that role as opposed to watching someone else, outline the dialogue and you're selecting 4 different options as opposed to full dialogue trees. So I can see where some people sort of, take a step back and go, I prefer my narrative-driven Fallout RPG experience and skill trees as opposed to essentially a first-person/third-person shooter that Fallout 4 is. But I find the combat so fun and visceral in Fallout 4 that I kind of don't care too much about those choices. You've still got them there. It's just a different kind of Fallout experience. It just depends what you want. So, there's all those other different experiences. If you want to go there, you could argue, left, right, and center about, which one's better. But I think at the end of the day, it comes down to personal preference. You could argue either way which one's better. So for me, I'm playing, for New Vegas and Fallout 4 for both completely different reasons. And both
simultaneously, you're playing 2 Fallout games? Hardcore, real gamer.
And stupidly going back to start playing Starfield as well, since that's now got its new update coming as well with 60 frames per Xbox. But I've gotten back into the Bethesda mode thanks to the bloody TV show. So
a 3-course Bethesda meal, if you will.
Oh, it's delicious. Give me more. It's a shame that there's no more Fallout coming anytime soon in terms of a new game, but I think we might start now. They've got a newfound love of Fallout with this show and a whole bunch of new people coming into it. I'd be very surprised if Bethesda's not behind those closed doors thinking, what can we do? I know we've got.
Well, Microsoft announced it. Was it yesterday or today? Microsoft came out and said we're accelerating plans for Fallout 5 off the back of the show.
Yeah, that was always going to happen. You know, whether they actually have plans or not, whether it's going to be outsourced to another developer. I've heard, you know, people say Larian Studios who've just come off doing Baldur's Gate, maybe they can go back and do a CRPG version of Fallout or remake Fallout 1. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of different ways they can go. Whether I think it'd be pretty cool to do a full, you know, first-person Fallout 4 style of the Fallout 1, but I just don't think we'll get that. I think they'll move on to Fallout 5 and move to a different location. But it's exciting because, I mean, Fallout 5 are weird franchises. I still remember the midnight launch of Fallout 4 and going to pick up my tin and getting all that stuff. I think you've got the Pip-Boy somewhere floating around the studio there. So, I mean, we're all Fallout fans. And, I mean, the show just made me realise how much I love Fallout. Just that and I think everyone, it's spiked on Steam. Everyone's buying Fallout. Everyone's playing Fallout again. And, I mean, just to drop a next-gen patch now, I know, you know, people are wondering where it is. It's been over a year since they, you know, probably should have dropped it. But to time it with the show the way they have now, I think it's working wonders. I think it's the same thing that Last of Us show did for the show, for the sales of Last of Us. The same thing's going to happen when Last of Us Season 2 comes out. Everyone's going to start playing the games again. So, I mean, we'll just ride this wave. It's a good wave to be riding because, Fallout's back, baby.
Yeah, it is. It's fantastic. Just a random thought from me, man. I would be interested. I'm not saying it'd be good, but I would be really interested to see if Microsoft tapped, what are they, Grove Street Games that did the AI ports of GTAs, the trilogy. I would love just to see what would happen if Microsoft threw money at Grove Street Game and said, give us a quick AI turnaround of an upscaled, redone version of New Vegas. Just, you know, let the AI do its thing. It'll be all kinds of jank, but let's just get it done real quick and put it on the store and just see what happens. I reckon that'd sell well off the strength of the show recently. Has there been any talk of a season 2, do you know?
Oh, Fallout, the show? Yeah, they announced it already. So
perfect.
A week ago, they already announced, season 2 is coming. So, and the way season 1 ends, they'd be mad not to. Like season 1, it finishes.
Oh, no spoilers.
I'm not. No, I won't spoil you, but just I remember getting the second last episode being like, and even my wife were like, how are they going to tie up all these threads in one episode? There's no way this is not going to season 2 before we get an answer to everything that's going on. Yeah. And they masterfully tie up pretty much every single story in the show, in that last episode. And it doesn't feel rushed. Like, they've only got an hour to do it, but they do it so superbly that you're like, this is masterful storytelling. It's tied up. It gives you that sense of completion out of the show with giving you that little, like, they dangle the sort of carrot right at the end of the episode for season 2 as well, without leaving you, you know, wanting or needing more. You still kind of get that closure as well with still that carrot. So they balance it perfectly. And you'll see what I mean when you said last episode with, like, the amount of stuff they have to type and the way they do it is just so well done. So props to Nolan and what's his name? Why can't I think of his name? Todd.
Oh, I'm not going to. I can't help. I wish I could.
They've just done a great job with that show. Props to them. Fallout's back, and I'm all for it.
They did. And had it lost it, I will say that going back, because I went back and I played some more Fallout 4, the PS5 upgrade edition, just to wind my comments back a little. I haven't seen one bug in just from starting a new game and playing through. Just to back up all your points, man, it's the best it's ever looked. It's the best it's ever run. The load screens are almost non-existent. I remember playing Fallout back on the PS3 and it'd be like, you'd hit a door and then go make a coffee, come back, it'll still be loading. But now it's like transition and you're in. It is the best Fallout has ever been. I'm so impressed. Like, the only thing that's let them down from my point of view is just that save game import hard locking the console. But other than that, absolutely fantastic experience. If you've never played Fallout 4, definitely play it. If you have played it before and you've got access to it, it's at least worth checking out, especially if you've seen the awesome TV show. Like, it lit me up, and I'm enjoying Fallout 4. Even though I've played it through twice before, I'm just enjoying it in a new way thanks to that TV show. So they're kicking goals left, right, and center. My hat's off to them. I love the show. I love the way it's done. I love the way they've tied it. No spoilers, but I love the way they've added some extra bits of lore that weren't there with certain characters, but they've done it seamlessly. I'm like, oh, brilliant. Like, just colored in a little bit more between. It was perfect. My hat's off to them all round. I love the TV show. I love this new gen update. If they could fix the import, that'd be great. What I was really hoping for was a waterfall of achievements. I haven't platinumed it because I'd finished my story. That's the only reason I did the save game import. I'm like, can I just pop, 30 trophies? The answer is no, you can't.
And I was in the DLC. I kind of wanted to keep going with Farhad because I was really liking that.
Yeah.
In terms of the mood it was at. And I really just wanted to keep going with that. Now that I can't. So it's just whether I've got the time to put in to get to that point. I don't know if I will. And it's
not with 3 Bethesda games on your plate.
Oh, I know. It's Todd Howard. Sorry, Todd. I know you. Todd Howard, thank you for your Bethesda games and thank you for the show. It's such a good time.
It is. It's an excellent time to be a Fallout fan, excuse me. I'm loving it. It's fantastic. I don't think we need to put a score on it. It's an old game, but just 2 thumbs up. Check it out. I say
one thumb up.
Cola. Also, get me game 3. Ungy, over to you for some Stellar Blade action. Tell me things. So I've only played the demo, which is the footage you're seeing now, but you've got the full game. Tell me things. How far in first? How many hours?
I just hit 19 hours.
Ooh, nice.
Blade, so not too bad. So Stellar Blade is stellar. Without pun intended. No, I played the demo and I, for whatever reason, wasn't too blown away when I was playing the demo. I'm not sure what it was. I think it was knowing that it's the style of game that it is. I always find it hard to play these games knowing I'm not playing the full version, even though I know that the demo stuff was going to carry over into the main game. I find it really hard to sort of start that grind process without knowing I'm playing the full game. It's a weird thing. So I sort of played the start, and
I'm right there with you there, mate. I've got the exact same hesitation when I'm playing the opening 2-hour trial, call it what you will. But I'm there with you as well, man. I'm really hesitant, but please continue.
Yeah, and it's like I don't put my all into that combat for that very reason. And I kind of got frustrated with the way the parry mechanic worked at the start because it wasn't quite as responsive as something like a Dark Souls. Because I think I was expecting a Dark Souls, and the way the game sets itself up, it does very much play like a Dark Souls. It's linear. You've got for lack of a better term, you've got your fireplaces or bonfires that you're going to, which are just sort of rest places with the seat. And there's a lot more to those than meets the eye initially as well. But I was like, I'm on leave. I'll give this game a go. Like, it looks pretty. I've heard some good reviews come out for it now. I'm like, I'll take a chance. And jumping into the game, like, I didn't even bother with my demo progress because there wasn't that long into it anyway. I thought, I'll just start from scratch. And playing this game, this is one of the most polished games I have played for a long time. And that's saying a lot coming from a studio. I think their name Shift Up has only ever done mobile phone games. This is their first AAA game they've come out with on console. And they need to be commended because this thing, I've not had one bug. The graphics are insane. The sound is really good. The voice acting for a Japanese-developed game is not amazing, but it's not terrible. The story they're telling is quite good. The gameplay they've pulled from all different styles of games. It sort of like the music and the feel of it kind of gives you a Nier Automata sort of feel to it, which I really enjoyed that game, and I know a lot of people did. So it's got that feel. It's got the gameplay of something more like a Bayonetta meets Devil May Cry meets Dark Souls, without the punishing difficulty. I guess it can be hard and you're fighting bosses and stuff, but once you learn the mechanics of the parry, of the dodge, and the perfect timing, you upgrade your skill tree, of which there is so much stuff in that skill tree, so many different button prompts you can do for different combos. It's almost like playing a Street Fighter game sometimes with the amount of combos and stuff you can do and try to remember what's what, but they've got a really good tutorial. Anytime you unlock something new, you can just press a button, you go in, find an enemy, set it what you want to do, practice those moves, just like a fighting game, and it really does teach those mechanics. I implore anyone who is having troubles with those parry mechanics, just get in there, do a couple of tutorials for 5 minutes, and you will learn a system, and it is so much fun once you do. Just the timing you get, it feels like Sekiro style. You hit that button at the right time, you hit a clunk, really good controller and sound feedback, which makes you feel cool while you're doing these things. This is what these games, you need them to do. Like, there's no point having a parry mechanic if it doesn't feel good. You just get that clash of swords or clash of whatever, and then you're pulling off these special moves. Like, if you knock down their not even their stamina, it's kind of like a stamina bar where they've got these different yellow dots. If you can knock all those off by timing your perfect parries, then you get like almost like a super move you can hit at the time, which takes out a huge chunk of health. So it's just so much stuff. There's mechanics, and they just keep opening up as the game goes on. Like, you don't start the game with a firearm, but then not long after you do unlock it, then all of a sudden you've got range combat. Your gun has different abilities. It's got a laser, it's got homing missiles, it's got normal pistol. You can upgrade it, you can carry.
how does it compare to the melee combat insofar as damage? Like, once you get the gun, are you like, is it comparable damage, or is the gun really weak and they sort of really steer towards the blades?
I wouldn't say it's really weak, but it's used really well. Like if it was too damage heavy, I think you would sort of try and fall back on that and not use the melee combat, which I think is the crux. I mean, is most of the melee combat, but it's used really nicely in conjunction with that melee combat. You can have special moves where, like, if you dodge a move of a boss or an enemy and then dodge backwards, it then increases your range damage. So you'll then pull out the gun and try and land a headshot or something with the gun, which does increases damage. Certain enemies are easier to take out at range, and you can chip away at their damage. So by the time you do confront them with the sword, you've already chipped away some damage. Your ammo is not finite, so you can run out of ammo and have to replenish it. So you do have to use it sparingly, which is, I think, a good way to do this. Otherwise, you could lean too heavily on the shooting mechanics. I think in near automata, you can just fire automatically, and eventually you unlock a special shot, but you can just shoot whenever you want, which can kind of control waves of enemies and stuff. But there's parts in the game where they take your sword away, and it literally plays like a Dead Space. You're in these dark things with just your gun, but they replenish ammo. They actually replenish ammo pretty much every checkpoint. So you're not worried about ammo in this instance, but the game plays like a third-person shooter, and just the way they sort of do that, it doesn't outweigh its welcome. It just changed up the gameplay just enough, just like there's certain platforming parts of the game, which is probably it's probably its weakest point. But again, they're only small in sort of time that you're doing those mechanics, and it's never too hard. Like, it's your yellow like things you can jump to, and occasionally jump over a laser or run across a wall to another wall to a rope, and it's never too. It doesn't take long, and it just breaks up all the other gameplay stuff. And there's puzzle solving as well, which I didn't expect out of this game. So I just kept throwing mechanics. I just kept surprising me with what this game had to offer compared to what I thought I was getting when I played the demo. So it's just been one of those games that I literally didn't see myself getting to one of my favorite gaming experiences this year so far. It's got
better than Helldivers? Surely not.
No, definitely not.
No, very good.
Completely different game, so it's hard to say. And I've got 106 hours into Helldivers.
What level are you?
45.
Nice work. Sorry, just on screen now is the tutorial section you were referring to.
Yes. So yeah, I'm for if you're playing the game to do these. And I mean, for me, I've spoken on this channel plenty of times about how much I love cosmetics in games and unlocking suits for characters. Eve, our main character, she has that many outfits, most of them very revealing, and you feel very embarrassed to play around your significant other playing this game and some of these outfits she's wearing. So I definitely lean heavily towards my black sort of suit that, you know, conceals most of her body and the jiggly parts, because she does have her jiggly parts. It's got very good boob physics in this game, I have to say.
What is it? Dead or Alive? No, was it Dead or
yes.
Alive?
Yeah, Dead or Alive beach volleyball. Yeah. So she's definitely gone to the school of beach volleyball for the mechanics for her, because all her parts move very nicely up and down ladders, etc. But
no, so I was just going to ask, did you buy it physical or digital? I assume digital.
Yeah, digital. It didn't pay for the deluxe, which is like an extra $15 to get some cosmetic stuff. But that cosmetic stuff I wasn't too interested in, because I'd already found a suit that I really liked in the game and mostly stuck to that. But I've been unlocking all the other suits for Eve and her other characters that you find in the game. You can unlock suits for them as well, and you unlock upgrades for her spine, and you can get earrings and glasses, and you can even change her hair. So I've now got a cute haircut now. It's nice, short and wavy, but you have to go to a side quest to do that. So there's all these cool side quests that actually do sort of feed back into the main narrative as well. There's smaller ones which are just essentially fetch quests, but I mean, what game doesn't have fetch quests as side quests? You're always doing some kind of thing for a character that involves getting something else but the rewards are good. Like, you're always getting something that's either giving you gold to enhance or to buy stuff, or to enhance your abilities, to enhance your mods that you do to Eve as well, to give you better combat stuff. Because you can pick to have, you know, stuff that gives you extra damage, or will give you extra beta ability, which is your special moves, or you can recharge that faster. Or I won't get into too much of it, but yeah, you can really sort of chop and change all these different mods you put on Eve to sort of give her, you know, whatever gameplay style you want. If you want extra range damage, you can put that on there. If you want more melee damage or critical hit damage, you can put that on there. So, and as you play the game, you unlock more and more slots to put more and more stuff in. So I think I'm close to the end game. I'm at the point, I think, a point of no return now, where I can travel to the last mission and finish the game at about the 20-hour mark. But I've got a whole bunch of side quests and stuff that I'm going to do, because I'm pretty sure it locks you out all those once you do that. So I've pretty much been trying to do 100% of everything in the game. You've got your linear bits, you've got your big open world wasteland, and later on you get the great desert with an oasis, and it's all very good looking. The game just runs flawlessly. It's got a graphics mode, which I don't know why you would use, because I mean 30 frames per second graphics mode doesn't anywhere especially for a game like this, doesn't look anywhere near as good as something running at 60 frames per
Yeah.
second. And you've also got a mixed mode as well, which I think it prioritizes graphics and performance, but I've left it in that because it's still hitting 60 frames per second like without a hitch.
Yeah.
With slightly higher resolution. So,
Yep.
mate, I can't talk more highly of this game for a game I said that was, not really on my radar. And as even the day it launched, I wasn't even dead set going to get it. And then I'm really glad I did, because I said 20 hours later, I'm looking at finishing this game and probably getting 100% everything in it because it's so much fun to play.
Nice. Have you eyeballed the platinum list? Is it an easy platinum, or not an easy platinum, but is it an attainable platinum?
I haven't, but I think it is obtainable. And I think even some of the sub bosses in the game, which are really hard, I reckon I've probably fought the hardest boss now. But the good thing about this game is with accessibility, you can drop it down to story mode, fight these bosses who are still hard, but they're way easier than what they are if you just play on the default difficulty, and you still get the trophies for beating those bosses. So,
oh, nice. And can you switch back and forth? You're saying so you can play most of the game normal, easy for the bosses back in. That's cool.
Pretty much. So, like, I haven't had to do it too much. I've kind of played that normal difficulty. There's only one boss that was causing me absolute grief. The save system's really good as well in this game. Like, there's plenty of saves throughout the world. And if you are fighting a boss, it doesn't even boot you back to your previous save. It kind of soft saves at the start of the boss fight.
Okay.
So you can still walk out and not fight them, but you don't have to backtrack all the way to it. So you can just pick it up and go straight again, which I really like.
Yeah, that's cool.
You've even got an item in this you can just buy, as long as you've got money, which by the end of the game you have got a shit ton of money, and they only cost $1,500, I think. You can buy these items that when you die, you can revive yourself instead of from a save point. You can just revive yourself whenever you want. So you essentially, if you get a boss down to that, that last minutia of health, and you in the Dark Souls, if you just die, it's the end of the world. And you're like, I'm never going to get that boss down to the health again. You just literally revive, you get full health back, all your stuff back, and you can just literally finish the boss off without that frustration. So I just really like that stuff. You don't have to.
That's cool.
But
how far into the game does that unlock? Like, are you sort of?
Oh, pretty soon. Like, as soon as you go off the shop at the start of the game, essentially you can start buying these things. You've got less money at the start of the game, so spending $1,500 on one of those things is a little bit more than, say, the end game where I'm rocking $50,000. So I reckon I've got maybe 11 stored up there anyway as it is, because I've been doing pretty well at the game so far. Because it's not, as I said, it's not as punishing as something like a Dark Souls. So you see these big bosses on screen, all the crazy stuff, but it plays more like a Bayonetta, providing you learn that parry mechanic and the dodge mechanic. You can wreck some of these bosses, especially by the time you've unlocked some of these abilities and stuff you get in the game. It's unreal. And as I said, like as you see on the screen, we talked about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and all the particles and stuff going on during those boss fights and how crazy it is. This game doesn't skip a beat in the same in the same breath. It's doing all that same stuff just as quick, and from a developer that's created their first AAA game. I just think they need to be commended for it.
Definitely, man. On the currency, I'm hoping the answer is no, but I need to ask: Can you pay like in the PlayStation Store for in-game credits and then buy yourself the respawn thing early without real consequence?
No, there's no microtransactions at all, which is again
great.
Recommended, because easily again, you can see all the outfits they've got to even put that behind a paywall or whatever, but they just don't. Like there's over 30 suits or something just to unlock in the main game, and I think New Game Plus was added to the game before launch as well, which you play that, apparently there's a whole bunch of new stuff you can unlock just from New Game Plus straight off the bat. So again, giving us all this stuff for just the base price of the game, which I think is more than worth the price of admission, which I wouldn't have said, a week ago.
Yeah, that's fair, man. My question on the cosmetic front for you: how close have you been able to get her to look like Nathan Drake?
Very little. Although it's funny to say that there was an outfit called the Wasteland Wanderer, which she had like a leather jacket and jeans. I was like, I really wanted that because I was the closest I was going to get.
What about the hairstyle? Can you get a Nathan Drake-esque hairdo going?
So I reckon I probably got as close as I can get on that. So I've gone like a short, sort of little bobby, sort of wavy haircut. No matter what you do, though, she's still got that massive ponytail at the back. So it doesn't matter what you do to her hair there, but I really like her. She looks quite cute now, so I'm going to be crushing her, to be honest.
Well, and now circling way back to my earlier point, I am like elbows deep in Final Fantasy. What am I playing? 16? 16's on with Clive now. So I'm elbows deep in that for my single player fix, and I'm still hardcore into Helldivers 2. So I have no room on my plate for Stellar Blade, but I love the demo. I loved everything you've said. Like, it's definitely on my to-do list, but part of me is now thinking, because of all the controversy around the day one patch and the version 1.0 having a specific cosmetic that they've since patched out, part of me wants to go out tomorrow and buy the physical copy of Stellar Blade. So I've got version 1.0 on the disc, so I can see for myself what this outfit's all about. And was it really that offensive? But I don't have time for it at the minute. I kind of need to wait 6 months and then go pick it up. But by then they'll have version, 1.5 or whatever burnt on the disc, and I won't be able to get it. So I've got an itchy trigger finger to go buy it. You're saying all the right things. I might have to go out tomorrow and pick it up.
The best way to put it, it's video game junk food. Like, there's
nice.
There's that much substance. It's just a fun video game, and I think
a
lot of these games, try for ultra realism these days, or you have to fucking tell this amazing story that's deep and got multi layers. Like, sometimes you just want to play a damn good video game, and
90% of the time, that's all I want.
and that's what this is. Like, it's just a fun video game, and it just pulls you back in every time you pick up that controller. It's got the haptic feedbacks. It just feels good to play. Eve feels good to play. Like, it's got a really good gameplay loop. I think I spoke about it last G.E.A. We were talking about Final Fantasy Rebirth, where I could see how good this game was, but it wasn't drawing me back into play. Like, I knew I wanted to keep playing, but it didn't have that hook to bring me back. Whereas this game's had that hook and made me want to just keep turning my controller on it. Putting in 20 hours over 3-4 days really says that that's what this game's doing, because I just want to see it through the end. Because every time I'm playing the game, I'm having fun.
That's great. And so you haven't finished the final boss yet, you've said? You're doing the side quest stuff. So I guess you can't answer the question, but I'll ask it on the off chance you've read it somewhere. Do you know if the game ends succinctly, or have they left it wide open for Stellar Blade 2?
I don't know. I imagine there's going to be something there. They've already, without spoiling too much, they've already tied up one aspect of the story, which it almost feels like it's the end of the game, but I knew there was going to be more to come. It was kind of like, now we've hit the third act. That was the end of the second act. So whether they do something with that, I feel like we are going towards an end boss. Whether there's anything beyond that, I think with the story stuff that I'm sort of gathering at the moment, because I actually listen to the story unlike yourself.
I'll listen to it if it's on while I can do gameplay, but if I can't do gameplay and you just want me to sit there, nah, not going to happen.
Nah, so there is like the biggest sort of arching narrative going on, whether they leave that open for Stellar Blade 2, but I'd really like to see what they can do, because, they do, so you can see sort of where all the other games they've borrowed aspects from for their game. I think that's the only criticism you can probably leave. Maybe it doesn't have its own identity. I would argue, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it is pulling a bit too much inspiration from all these other games, but I think maybe that is its identity. Maybe because it is drawing of all these other different aspects, you don't really see a game with all these mechanics in the one game. Maybe that's what it's going for. And I think the fact they do it so well, like, it doesn't feel hand-fisted to be playing it as a third-person shooter, I don't know, or doing platforming or doing puzzling. They do work it out really well, and I think they've definitely got scope to go further with this, considering this is only their first attempt, and it's already way more polished than a lot of the AAA stuff we're seeing come out. Like, I don't point fingers, but because Dragon's Dogma 2, I just finished the other night, and I absolutely love that game. I never.
How many hours?
Finished up at about 45 hours.
Okay. Yep.
For that, but that game is just brilliant. I love that game. I never thought I'd start and finish Dragon's Dogma 2 when I started playing it, because I found it so difficult at the start, but by the end of it, you just OP. And I love that about games where you can start to feel overpowered in that world. And that game just did that for you. But even that game, in terms of performance and stuff, not the best. Like, in the cities, it can drop to subpar 30 frames per second. Out the world, it can maybe hit up to 40 with an unlocked frame rate. Wait for that PS5 Pro. Hopefully, hit those. I think there's a reason they left the frame rate uncapped for that game. It's going to hit higher frame rates later this year. But no, even that, like, yes, it's a polished game, but in terms of performance and stuff, it does drop and dip in a lot of places. Whereas something like this, which is, it's not Capcom, it's not Ubisoft, it's not one of those big developers. They make mobile games. They've come out with this game that is literally, I've not had one error, no glitches, no crashes, absolutely nothing. So hats off.
Yeah, that's great, man. But back to you saying that there's nothing unique about it. Is there anything in there? Is there any new, like, single gameplay mechanic that you've never seen before? Does it do anything new anywhere?
It's hard to say. Not Really?
That's fair. That's a fine answer, man. I just
I mean, it's
like I didn't
hard.
experience it in the demo, but I thought maybe
Yeah, like everything that you do, you can say you've done in another game. Whether you can say you've done them all in the same game, and to the polish that this is, then I'd probably say not. This is probably close to getting everything cohesively into one game. But yeah, you can see it's borrowed stuff from a lot of different games. But I mean, they do it well, so I can't knock them for it.
Yeah,
that'd be my only thing. It's just like how do you get an identity in it, especially in games, these days where there is so many different options to play games and make games. And obviously people are going to, borrow things that are from good games. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but no, I still commend them. I think what they've done with this character and with the world and what they're trying to build and just the gameplay itself just being so fun. It's a great video game. This is easily sitting for me currently probably at a 9 out of 10.
So what you're saying is it's Helldivers 2, Stellar Blade, and then Final Fantasy Rebirth?
Well, I have to say I'm having more fun with Stellar Blade than I am with Rebirth. I have only recently started to sort of push myself back into Rebirth, mainly because I did knock off Dogma 2, and it was very hard to have 3 games going at the same time. So now now it's Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 4, Fallout 76, Starfield, and admittedly, now that I'm not on leave, I'm probably going to have to stop playing one of these games. But I'm not sure which one's going to take the hit. I'll probably knock this one off in a couple of hours, and that one's off my plate. But May is looking pretty slim for games, so there's not a whole bunch coming out. So it is backlog month, I think, for May. So just as well, apart from the Starfield update, which that'll get me playing that more. But I'll finish this. I'll do there's a whole bunch of Dragon's Dogma 2 end game stuff after the credits you can do as well, which I'm now doing as well. So technically, yes, have rolled credits. Haven't completely finished my time with that game, and we'll probably roll into a new game plus. So
are you platinum hunting in that one?
Possibly. I haven't looked at the trophies, but I dare say, yeah, currently I could probably start looking towards it, I reckon.
And how close are you to the Helldivers 2 plat? I think you only had 5 left.
Yeah.
Last time I spoke to you about it.
I think I'm still sitting at 5, yeah.
Yeah. What, is it the play on an extreme difficulty or something with no one firing a main weapon or something?
Yeah, I've got that one to do. I reckon that's doable, but I think with the recent patch it might be a bit harder doing that solo. So I think, I got the difficulty for solo players, which I think is a bit of a weird move. But I'm sure they'll listen to the feedback and we'll get another patch at some stage with new War Bond coming for the Helldivers probably this week or next as well.
That's exciting. I'm going to have to get my grind on for the whatever the blue currency is called.
Yeah, I don't think I've got enough for the War Bond, but I'll probably drop some cash on that. I think I've got 144 medals. I'm just going to save them. I think I've got everything in the other War Bonds I need at the moment, so I think I'll save them up for the next one and see what gun I need to have and go after that.
Yeah. No, while we're speaking about it, and I know you already know this, Unky, but to the viewers out there, if you're not aware, through the, what do they call it, PlayStation Stars program? Is it Stars? Is that what they call it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so through the PlayStation Stars program, you can earn those, whatever their fake currency is called, but you can convert, I think it's like 1,500 of the Stars currency into one of the Helldivers currency packs. So there's a way you can get, I think it might have been the $500 currency pack, blue currency, whatever, in-game. Yeah. But if you're sitting on a bunch of PlayStation Stars credits, you can pick up yourself 500 Helldiver bucks.
I reckon I've got 18,000 credit.
Holy moly! They need to start dropping those war bonds weekly. Every week, new war bond. How epic would that be?
I can actually buy another copy of Helldivers with my points at the moment. The way I'm going.
Buy it and give it a bully.
He doesn't deserve it.
All right, that's going to do it for this week, guys. I'm going to hit this button so there's no confusion that we are wrapping up the show. Sean Gaines, big shout out to you. Thanks for coming for the out of nowhere episode of G.E.A. I forgot to advertise it anywhere before we did it, so good on you, Sean, for being across it. Nice work. Unky Dunky, excellent work this evening, mate. Thank you so much for joining me.
It's my pleasure, mate. In the spirit of Fallout.
Yeah. Guys, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Unky, what else could you do with the channel?
Like and subscribe it. You'll never miss it.
Oh, that was luck. Hey, that's something. Oh! Old Uncle Donkey. G.E.A.